Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Good morning, everybody. It's Drive Time, your time. I got the pineapple shirt on for y'all just so you see how sweet it could be. Man, I don't even know what to say. The first cup of coffee hasn't kicked in, but it will soon. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is episode number 7 of Drive Time, your time. It's your time to call on in and participate. Sleepy, why isn't it the timer in the corner working like the cue, which shows how little of people are watching, you know? Do you know why? Oh, it's up in the right now. Did you move it? Where's Sleepy? Sleepy, are you here? Come into the...
Oh, my bad. No,
my Lord, somebody else doesn't have his coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, engineer, co-host, do it all, producer, that kind of thing. Sleepy Josh.
No, I think StreamYard moved it.
What is up with StreamYard?
I don't know. I didn't touch it though, so it wasn't me.
Well,
I don't even know if you can move that.
Well, you got the blame for when the boxes were small. You got scolded by Fee.
That was my fault.
That totally was. Everything's your fault. You were born for starters.
Hey, I fixed it before you even bitched at me because I watched Truthwire and saw Fee annoyed, and so I wouldn't fix it.
I know you saw that disgusted face from her. Oh. By the way, we're going to say hello to the co-producer, Gabrielle Freedom, of course. Thank you so much. Gabrielle does a lot for us, the whole family. She also books on Truthwire, so that's always fun. Look at that beautifulness. And Fred Edwards is there, too. He's been around since the beginning. He's like a producer. You got more staff right now in the building than we do customers, but that's okay. Sleepy, my potential landlord might be listening in today, so let's keep it nice and clean. Let's pretend to be gentlemen, right?
All right.
Let's really put on a show today. Let's not let the greasy side of us slip out. Our co-host will be along shortly. You know him. You'll love him. Ladies and gentlemen, live from the land of Pelé, Nico House is in the house.
What is going on, my guy? Yo, my bad. I actually was like trying to find the link because I forgot where you sent it, and I forgot you sent it on WhatsApp.
All right. First off, who cares about the link? Who cares about you being a little bit behind? What's with that hair? I mean, when the first thing for those who out there who are just listening and they can't see, we got a hair that makes you want to say, "Girl, you know it's true." He looked like Milli Vanilli with the hair.
You can't hear us. He's saying,
"What happened?"
Hold on, pause. I cannot hear you.
That's the worst when you make fun of somebody and they can't even hear you making fun of you. You know. Wow. Maybe you should come in and out. Can't hear us.
I can hear you now.
I was saying, don't worry about the sound. Don't worry about the technical difficulties. Don't worry about being a couple minutes late. What's with that hair? You got a hair that makes you want to say, "Girl, you know it's true." I mean, you look like that. That's the Milli Vanilli. Is that even real, Nico?
Yeah, I know you didn't hear it, bro. You called the realest man in independent journalism, Milli Vanilli.
That's right.
That's almost blasphemous. That's sacrilege.
I know. Well, I'm not the one who came out wearing that hair. Man. I'm not the one who came out wearing that hair. You did. Is that real?
Yeah. What? Bro, you know what? My mom asked me that question the other day. I'm like, what? Is that your real hair? I'm like, yeah, it's my real hair. Why would I put fake hair in my hair? I don't know. It just grew really fast. Yeah.
Wow. It's long, man. It is. And you almost look like Daryl from Coming to America. You got that soul glow.
Oh my God, bro. Dog,
that was my favorite line in that movie. Was, "What you got in there? Ultra Perm." He goes, "I ain't got nothing but natural juices and berries." Because you ain't got nothing but ultra perm. Get out of here.
Dude,
Then
I
he cuts
will
off the
never
tail and goes,
forget the
that'll be
the
$8.
Full Glow commercial. That shit was so funny.
Great movie. Great movie. Do you not agree?
Coming to America?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, what? It's a classic.
What is your favorite Eddie Murphy movie?
Oh man, that is
I'm
that's
asking the
hard.
chat as well. Participate here. Nico House's favorite Eddie Murphy movie?
Man, you know
Yours.
what? It's I think it's Nutty Professor for me. Both of them, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's a generational thing. I think it's a generational thing because for us,
We're old.
like
Pasta.
Coming to America was kind of more so your generation, even though I love that movie, it's hilarious. But like for us, like when we got to know Eddie Murphy, like I'm a millennial, 37. So like that was the movie because that was the same movie we were introduced to Dave Chappelle.
Half Baked?
No, Nutty Professor. Dave
I don't
Chappelle
even
was a
remember him.
comedian.
I saw half of the Nutty Professor. I couldn't stand it.
What?
Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it.
Bro, what?
Thought
And
it
the
was like a
second one was
Disney
even
movie
crazier
on
because it had Janet
steroids.
Jackson.
Couldn't stand it. No. I liked, first of all, I was a kid when Trading Places and 48 Hours was in the movie theater. So I kind of saw that on cable TV, on Showtime or something.
Mhm.
And I really think those are some of his better movies. Coming to America, I saw it in the theaters. But I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 48 Hours. That was kind of my Reggie Hammond. I love the Reggie Hammond character.
I don't even think I've seen 48 Hours.
What's that?
I don't think I've seen 48 Hours. I think if I saw it, it was like a long time ago with my dad. Like I haven't even seen as an adult.
We are showing our age today. I got to tell you, Nico, I'm wearing this outfit today, but I came very, very close from breaking protocol. But I'm Italian. I am superstitious. I almost wear my Jalen Brunson shirt and my other orange sunglasses, but I'm waiting till tomorrow. I don't know how the Colonel is going to take it as my, my guest tomorrow, my co-host, which is kind of cool tomorrow. I got a couple military people calling in. I said they can call in today too as well because you yourself were also in the military. So a happy belated Memorial Day. That was a week ago, but to you, thank you, my friend. I hate when people thank you for your service. Like I didn't do anything.
Weren't you in the military too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a minute.
You said the same thing. I said, yeah, I was in the military.
Hung out in Groton, Connecticut. I don't know what to do. Thank you for serving your country. I did not really serve my country. I hung out. Yeah. I got a tattoo and I hung out in strip clubs and drank a lot of cheap beer while on Groton, Connecticut.
It sounds like you were a sailor. That's what it sounds
exactly.
like.
I was a submariner, bubblehead, right? Is that what you guys called us?
Hey, man, look, it's a good thing you was a sailor back then instead of now because I've never seen so many nervous sailors in my life. Like before, they'd be like, man, we cool. What are they gonna do? Call us to go to deliver some stuff. We're just gonna go from port to port. We're chilling. Yeah, now it's like terrified to get a call. Terrified. Because you know where you're going. You know where you're going. And you know you have no way. If you go there, you do not have a guarantee you're coming back.
I heard that one of the ships ran out of coffee. And I got to tell you, as a sailor, like that's like one of the most important things, whether you're in a submarine, aircraft area, you need your coffee.
One of the only rights it seemed like that was guaranteed to you as a service member, like even in the Army, was coffee on deck. I remember we had to do our field, when we did our field exercise for like that 7 days before you graduate basic, every day, coffee. Like you might not have MREs that day for whatever reason, or for lunch, they're like, oh, we can't do it today. We have to have it for dinner. But you're gonna have coffee every single day. Probably more coffee than water, to be honest with you.
I love when people are texting me up in the day to show, hey man, what's going on? I'm like, where's your show at? What are you doing? I'm like, I love it. Like, here we go. Like, I think people are excited for something in this time slot in the morning, right? Because you put on cable TV and it's just garbage out there, Nico. And really, to tell you the truth, it's something a little bit deeper, right? It's really like Mockingbird media at its finest at this point. There's nobody who's a real journalist that gets on the news anymore. It's all propagandist. And they find the people who will go ahead, the narcissists. You got a lot of useful idiots, right? So you either have your paid propagandist or your useful idiots. And then you get this like combination of the two because people really believe they're bullshit, Nico.
Yeah. Or you get guys that pop up on Fox News with masks on that are clearly wearing a mask. Did you see that?
When was this?
This was last week.
Somebody was wearing a
It
mask.
was
They do this all the time. It's weird.
a vice admiral. He goes on, and like what was weird about it is like he tried to wear like the exact same outfit as he did the last time, but he had a black shirt under it and it wasn't buttoned up all the way, and so the mask was just all right here and flopping around. And I was like, they were like, "That's lighting." I'm like, "That is not lighting, bro." I know what like lighting can play tricks with the shadows, but I'm like, lighting don't make your neck flop around. And his face was like everything was different. It was clear. Like he looked like he just came out of a wax museum. And here's Pasta. So what made it even more suspect was the day that everybody called them out for that guest wearing the mask. It was Vice Admiral Harwood. It was Harwood. That's what it was. Vice Admiral Harwood.
Yeah.
When they called him out for wearing the mask, Fox News brought him back on the next day. Like the same day, actually, that everybody called him out for wearing a mask. I'm like, yeah, y'all go. I guess I could try to save face, but like, you couldn't make it more obvious now. But all right, man, you got it.
So sorry that I'm getting text messages because I'm trying to arrange with some people to call in. They're asking what's the latest you can call on in, so I'm going to say 9:45, right? I'm going to say that's the latest. Josh, is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
This might have been Spanish River Day, Nico, and it was kind of excited about this because so last week I had talked about the fact that there have been like maybe I can count on one hand some of the mentors I had or friends that I had that really kind of helped me find my voice, that gave me the courage to go out to LA and give it a shot. And things didn't kind of work out the way I had dreamed they would be. I'm not the next Robert De Niro or Al Pacino, thank God. But I mean, I found my way into this, right? And there is kind of like an aspect of like acting or performing, whatnot. All those times on stage since a little kid have helped me out today, right? With my voice, being able to speak, whatever. But also it was other people who kind of gave you the confidence just in this fucking jungle of a world. One of those guys, his name was Stevie D, DJ Stevie D, Stevie D'Angelo. He came on last week. I got to see him. I hadn't seen him since the 90s. And I got to go thank him and say, hey, man, thank you so much for being a mentor, a big brother, whatnot. Like, we used to hang out with some bad characters. I don't want to say that they're that bad, but they had a lot of fights and, guys who kind of get in trouble, and, man. It was not, but this guy was always like, you don't have to do that. He made sense of it. And it really steered my life where I probably stayed out of a lot of trouble and didn't get into fights. And that was kind of cool. But he was also just he had a pirate radio station, and he gave me a ska show called the Pasta Show. Now I left the show. I moved eventually when it closed down. I moved to California. This is my last days of Florida, whatnot, right after high school and whatnot. And I took hip hop with me, and I'm a hip hop guy. But I called it the Pasta Show at 2 a.m. in the morning, and the guy gave me an opportunity. And I mean, Stevie D it was great that he came on the show. Now, today, I was having another guy who was just a friend. But like, I grew up in Spanish River. You ever seen the movie Breakfast Club, Nico?
No.
Okay. Well, it's this movie where all these kids got to spend a Saturday detention for doing whatever. And it had like all the special actors, the hot actors from the 80s, like the young actors. This guy named, what's his name? Is it Judd Nelson, who was in New Jack City as one of the cops? It had Michael Anthony Hall, who had done so many things. He did this movie, Weird Science, Johnny Be Good. He was just in so many things. He was actually in the Batman movies as an older man, as a fat older man. But he was in the movie. Molly Ringwald. Thank you, Fred Edward. Molly Ringwald was in the movie. I can't remember the other girl's name. But anyways, it had all these little hot actors and stuff. But it was about these kids, and some of them were popular, some of them were nerds, and there was this. It had a lot of dialogue. We used it in drama class, but there was this one scene they talked about where the kid's like, "Hey, man, what happens Monday when we go to school?" And he asked the popular girl, "Are we going to be friends?" And she says, "No." And she's like, "Why? You don't know what it's like." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a popular person, and how can I be your friend? That's how it was like at my high school, right? Like, it's Boca Raton, Florida. It was clear.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But this guy, John Alexander, who was just a popular kid, black man, was cool, and he was my friend, and he didn't give a shit what anybody thought. And I remember that helped me out in high school, because just like any other high school kid, and I feel sorry for kids today now. You know what I'm saying, Nico? You got a lot of work to do. I mean, Brazil's a whole different culture and everything. Who knows where you be? But I mean, the shit we're seeing from kids today nowadays, the way they're coming up with these laws about protecting kids online and like the stalking and whatnot. I mean, Ali Sheedy, somebody said, thank you so much. We got some old people in this motherfucker here. Good morning. Ali Sheedy was in the movie, but I, and I think about these things. Well, John Alexander was supposed to call in today, Nico, and I made it. I said, you got to call in on Tuesday. He goes, if I don't get into a meeting, I'll call in. I think he's stuck in a meeting, but I wanted him to come in because he was talking about the lesser of two evils and why he supported the Democrats. And I said, well, Nico House will be here. We were talking yesterday, Nico, since you're the token black man of the show, right? The term person of color. Do you like it? Not like it? How do you think it's used? Because somebody told me, goes, don't call me a person of color. Call me a black man. I'm a black man. Person of color is very fucking vague. What are your thoughts on that term, person of color, Nico?
I'm indifferent to the term person of color unless it's just specifically referring to me. Like, I would prefer to just be called a black man because that's what I am. I mean, that's how society treats me. Because there are like levels to how a person is treated and perceived. If you call them a person of color and you're just trying to convey a general message about how people of color are treated, that I understand. Like, I don't take any issue with that. But like, if you're referring to me, you just go ahead and call me a black man because that's what I is. That's what I am. If I walk into your white parents' house in Virginia or in Alabama, and I'm your boyfriend, and they look at me, they're not gonna be like, "Wow, you're dating a person of color." Like, that's a black man. That's what's going. That's how you basically weigh that's how you weigh the scales of how if you should be considered just a person of color or a black person. Because there are like, for example, there are Arabs that are not people of color, as crazy as that sounds, right? They're like white, Caucasian. Like, if they didn't tell you they were Arab, you would never know. That's not.
We everywhere, Nico. We're in the desert. We're in Latin America. If there's a place that we can show up and pillage and purge and plunder, we gonna show up.
We know it. We know. But yeah, man. So I don't personally, I don't personally take issue with it, but I would I just prefer to call a spade in that vein. Like, a spade is, I'm a black man. So
yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, look, you're dating a black man. Just do me a favor with that hair. Keep Nico off the couch." Guys, call on in 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I know this crowd seen the movie Coming to America. They were talking about it. The scene when they were all on the couch, the Soul Glow family, and they get up and on the couch it had the 3 oil stains. That shit's funny, man. You got to think that Eddie Murphy had a lot to do with the writing in that, because there was so many Eddie Murphy moments. I don't know what an Eddie Murphy movement is, but there was a lot of moments. Pillage and plunder. Yeah, personally, I refrain from the whole pillage and plunder. Yeah, because we'd rather stay on the couch and order Domino's. They slowed us down. That's what's going on. Guys, we want you to call on in 561-247-2721. Nico, let's talk about a few things, because there's data centers out there, right? Like, so look at, first off, give me your projection about, and I mean, this is going to be so interesting because, we're trying to make this a show where anybody can call in about anything, talk about movies, talk about food, talk about politics. Obviously, we're in the bubble, right? We're in the know. We understand what's going on. We're paying close attention to what's happening. What are your thoughts where we're at? Like, I don't want to say so much like the state of politics, because even though, I think sometimes that we see everything in the lens of politics, that everything we see around us, what's happening with us culturally and socially and technology, we kind of frame it in the world of politics, what's going to happen, because they do set the tone on what a society does, right? If you don't do politics, politics will do you. But where do you think we are as a society nowadays and everything? I mean, with your travels and where you've ended up and everything, I mean, because the AI age is coming to fruition now, right? I mean, it's here. We're going to talk a little bit about data centers, and it's kind of cool, I think, the way data centers, where the left opposes it because it uses too much water and energy, and the right is like, they're tracking and tracing everything we have. I don't give a shit. Like, I agree with both sides. Let's stop this fucking shit because this is some crazy utopian thing, right? There might be the computer.
Hold up, dystopian? You mean dystopian? You mean dystopian?
What did I say? I said
you
utopian. Dystopian. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I said what?
Utopian. Utopian's a good restaurant, but dystopian. So why don't you give us a little update where you think we're at as a society with the AI age and what's happening, what's coming? Because they're also using it in war for war technology. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, just for example, so I don't know if you guys know, but Palantir is actually helping Ukraine conduct military strike. No, not military strikes. I mean, we're just gonna call it what it is. It's terrorist attacks in Russia. They're using that. So there was an original system in software called Prism built by Palantir that was strictly for data collection. And, that's what Palantir does. But we always knew, especially with this current CEO, what's his name? Alex Karp. Yeah, they do the psychopath. So that data and that software was always going to be weaponized. And what they're doing now is they've evolved the software for military purpose, and now it's called Prisma. And what they're doing is they scout and do reconnaissance on the terrain of Russia, all their defense systems. Then they provide that information to Ukraine, and then Ukraine uses it to strike strategically with drones in areas that they're hoping they'll be able to bypass Russia's defense system, which is even actually scary. I know, like, as far as Ukraine is concerned, maybe a lot of people are thinking, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many drones they use. Russia is not going to be beaten by Ukraine. However, I don't believe that that's actually the point, right? The point is actually to get data on Russia, to get information about Russia, to accurately scan their defense systems, not and scan and determine their capabilities, not fighting in Ukraine, but their ability to defend their homeland if there was a war to come to Russia. Because the data that the U.S. has right now is all about what Russia can do in a situation where they're going into another country, not defending their own necessarily. So, like, that's just one way that AI is being weaponized, and how Palantir and the U.S. government is behind it. The other things that we have to consider is the U.S. government invested $500 billion or something like that into AI, and even though they've invested that amount, it's not the U.S., it's not the American people primarily who are benefiting from it. It's, AI is killing jobs. The data centers are killing destroying water supplies, the environment. The people weren't getting a say. However, that is changing quickly. People across the United States are protesting. And they're like, nah, we don't want anything to do with these data centers. And the worst part is everything about AI and everything to do with AI in the US and in the West is what's problematic, in my opinion, Pasta. I'm not really a black or white when it comes to AI, because when AI is actually done correctly, when it's done correctly, it's supposed to be a tool to make my job easier. Because no matter what, AI is always going to be faulty. There's an inherent defect that nobody wants to admit. AI is made by humans. As long as humans are imperfect, AI will never be able to replicate anything perfectly the way that humans can do it, right? So, for example, we talk about music. There are like these attempts to make AI music labels, AI artists, and like even there's like people who are experimenting with AI. They try to use voices of famous artists to make a song in the same style that an artist would use. And people were really terrified about that at first, until you actually listen to the music. And anyone who like loves music, especially like whatever your favorite genre of music is, for example, like there was this song that got released. I'm a big Drake fan. There was let me just say this real quick. There was a Drake song, quote unquote, that got released. I immediately knew it wasn't him. I immediately knew, because there's just something missing in AI that can't be replicated unless you're a human. And so, go ahead.
We'll have to put this Drake versus Kendrick Lamar thing on pause.
There's no verses. That's already been determined.
Yes, it is. Let's
he could be with Michael Jackson.
Caller, where are you calling from? Who are you? Let us know, my friend. Thank you for calling Drive Time in the Morning.
What's up, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
who is it?
This is Dev, man. I've been calling from the peaceful sanctuary in Michigan out here. I'm out here blessed right now. I've been listening to you guys for over 10 years now. It doesn't even feel real. You know,
Oh,
just
wow.
like 2016 in the blink of an eye, and then all this stuff happened, and then I had to call in with my guy Nico Fury on here. He had the whole Avengers of independent media. That whole run was a great time for me to get involved in politics. I want to say that because because I was a kid right before, and I would always see the adults in my life talking about politics. Like, oh, what do I got to be, a Republican or a Democrat? And I didn't understand any of this stuff. And then I got introduced to it from I don't know if y'all remember liberal viewer TYT David Pack, basically the worst of the worst.
Yes, we
Bill
remember
Maher's
David.
the guy. Bill Maher's the guy who ushered me in. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I was because I didn't want to derail. I just had to give you some flowers real quick before I got into the whole AI thing. It blows my mind how little there was almost no buildup, and then you just start hearing about data centers and this and that, and people were saying it in the chat that it's almost sort of like guns, where you could use a gun for not murdering people, or you could use a gun for murdering people, and we have all these psychotic tweakers like Alex Karp jumping for joy in their chairs, talking about all the crazy applications of this stuff. It's like a movie villain, it's so cartoonish. It's hard to think it's real, and I'm terrified that this isn't going to get any better. Possibly UNC were talking about this sort of thing pretty recently, that eventually they're going to reach a point in the AI and the drones and all this stuff where even if we protest, and not like the performative no kings style of things, right? Like it like actual protest that affects something, some direct action, they could just, we don't need these, we have enough goy slaves, we have enough useful idiots here. And then what? Then we just die for nothing, it seems like. So I'm really worried about the future.
By the way, what was your name again? I know you call from humble, beautiful Michigan. What's your name? Ben?
Dev. DEV, man. It's Dev.
Like Des Bryant? That's Nico's favorite wide receiver. That's Nico's favorite wide receiver, Des Bryant.
No, but funny enough, it is the nickname for my son.
Des? That's
Des. Because his middle name is Deshaun.
I'm gonna let Nico go first at this, but I do want to say thank you so much, because if you were watching Nico back in the day, there's a good chance you eventually saw us, because Nico was the first to reach out to us, to notice us when we were very new, and say, hey, why don't you come on my platform? And we actually went on Nico for the People, right? Mikasa Sukasa.
MCSC,
we were
man.
some of the first members out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you so much, I want to say. And I just want to say this really quickly before I hand it off to Nico. AI is a tool, and Trump was also brought along to usher in the AI planning. So, Nico, take it away if you got anything to say too as well, especially about the Goyim and the useless eaters that are going to be protesting that they can get rid of us, because that's also something scary we have to kind of look in the face and kind of handle too as well. Go ahead.
So I would beg to differ that Trump was here to bring in the AI revolution. I do believe that he was here to usher in like the Greater Israel Project, but the AI thing started long before, because China was already ahead of us. The only reason the United States is pushing AI right now, because you have to think there's like almost like a conflict of interest for the president. AI becoming a primary driving force of the workforce takes jobs away. So it makes them look like the economy. It makes it look like the economy is doing worse, and it's the president's fault, because everybody kind of puts it in simplistic terms. But in reality, China was getting so far ahead of us that the United States even started impeding some supplies that they need for their data center and their AI to function. So like they got set up a little bit, but I mean they were still far ahead of us, so it didn't really matter. So now, because remember, we didn't make that $500 billion investment in AI in the United States until after China did it for a fraction of the price. And China, obviously, their data centers are way out west, hasn't affected anybody's energy bill, hasn't affected anybody's water supply, and the Chinese are actually benefiting from AI because, like Pasta just said, technically speaking, AI was always really supposed to be a tool, not a replacement.
Yeah.
And the moment the United States tries to make it a replacement is the moment that the United States will fail as a country. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, I've just ran this. I mean, I've learned a lot about AI recently in the last couple of months. I've taken AI classes. I got like certified in Gemini Basics because, like, you know, it's Google, so you definitely need to know everything that they're doing to get ahead of them, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Perplexity. I use a lot of Claude, and I feed these AIs questions, like complicated questions, all the time, and I catch them in their own errors, and I challenge them with the logic and the facts, and then they correct after that. But that just lets you know, no matter how much someone tries to convince you that AI will eventually replace human beings, it is not possible. But that doesn't mean they won't try. It isn't for lack of trying, but it's just, in my opinion, not possible. But there will be also a reverberating negative impact that, unfortunately, the working class will feel before they realize that it is impossible. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest issue. It's like there's going to be a lot of people that lose jobs, a lot of people that don't go to school for that thing that they were going to go to school for fear that AI is going to replace their job, only for them to double back and figure out, oh shit, we actually need humans for this. We forgot we need humans to run these data centers. We need humans to innovate, actually, and make these data centers more efficient, make AI more efficient. Because you got to think, these data centers are eating up energy. We've never seen anything like this in our lifetime, except for maybe in the 90s or the late 80s, whenever the internet became a thing. So the AI is actually, when you break it down, is really inefficient right now. And all of that requires a solution, and those solutions can only come from humans. So at the end of the day, AI is only supposed to be used as a tool, and we do have to keep protesting. I don't think it's frivolous. I don't think it's worthless to protest, because at the end of the day, we will always have to see a human element involved. And the only way we can force them to realize that before it's too late is to continue speaking out.
Yeah. And let me say this much: if there's a zombie apocalypse, I cook. You need my ass. AI ain't replacing me. You know what I'm saying? And to also kind of piggyback on not so much piggyback, to push back a little bit on what Nico was saying, that he doesn't think that Trump was here to usher in the AI kind of plan of sorts, the fourth industrial revolution, the great reset on the way. Well, the contracts still got signed a lot. Palantir got a lot of contracts signed, and a lot of other Israeli spyware companies got a lot of contracts. Pegasus came back, got lifted off their sanctions, which is like, Pegasus was so bad that even the Biden administration told them, like, hey, man, we should probably shelve this shit. This shit is so bad. It is dystopian, not utopian, dystopian. And we need to shelve this stuff. And Minnesota, I don't know if you know about this, Des, right next to Michigan, Minnesota, when they had all the ICE, anti-ICE protests, hello, how you doing? Hi, hey to you too. They were using Palantir software, the same software, I think it was called Graphite, which was used in Gaza, was then used in Minnesota to geofence. In other words, they were getting everybody, not just immigrants, illegal, legal, but whatever you want to call them, undocumented workers. I think I hate the term illegal, but they were data fencing and data mining everything. They were putting everybody's face and mapping it out all over Minnesota. That was the testing grounds, and that's what they were using ICE for. It wasn't really about, let's send an immigrant back to where he belongs, and that's a whole nother issue in itself. I still can't understand how we're a nation of immigrants, and the conservatives in this country, the majority of them, still think that this is the biggest issue. We got to take care of this immigration problem. We take care of that, and everything will fall back into place. The Democrats are bringing over people from the border to vote Democrat. Well, first of all, I've never seen an election as an election integrity expert I've never seen an election where immigrants have affected it one way or the other. Two, they don't vote. They mainly hide in the shadows. But when you have a mass mail-out system and ballot harvesting, anybody can exploit that immigrant, get that ballot, and take it in themselves, which is a whole nother issue in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the immigrant voting himself.
And it's good. Yeah. And it's good for keeping people divided, right? Like, because there's a lot that you all said that I want to react to, really. But but I mean, when it comes to election integrity, right? Like, Pops, like I was watching UNC, right? Like, when you were going, I think it was like Peru or Bolivia, I forget, but you were making those trips, and that was my exposure to what elections look like when it's not being ran under this, grand scam operation, right? Like when it's not in this pre-programmed matrix environment where you get your flavor of, do I want red theme depression, blue theme depression? Do I want a pride sticker on my shit? Or, like that's as much choice as we really have, and I see this sort of sentiment popping up more and more of, if voting mattered, they wouldn't let you do it. And it blows my mind that there's even people in independent media who, will sort of passively acknowledge the lack of election integrity. And then just sort of act like, everything's perfectly fine, right? Massey just lost because of boomers, and that's all it came down to. There was no.
That pissed me off. That claim.
One way or the other.
That claim pissed me off, man. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, let me say this much too, Des. It was Nico who turned me on to elections. Thanks a lot, Nico, for getting me addicted, because that's my thing. And Nico was the first.
Frog lawsuit.
Yeah, I can blame Nico for like half my fucking problems, Nico. half my successes. Thank you,
Damn,
Nico.
they sound like my exes. God damn.
Half my successes and half my problems. What's up, D? How you doing, Bubba? And I'm glad you like the documentary about Lahaina. Elections are crazy too, as well, Des. And I want to say this. And Josh, check and see if we have anybody in the queue, because we're still testing out the systems here.
Nothing's popped up, I think.
All right, good. But just keep an eye on it, okay, my man? Because we want to make
I am constantly.
I love it. I need some more coffee. But the whole thing about elections, if you have a system that's supposed to be about the people's choice, right? This is about you pick. The marketing is that we, the people, decide our leaders, whatever. Then the system that brings you the results of that democracy should be sound. People don't understand how nefarious elections are, because they don't only just cheat and put their people in power who they want to put in power, that is the ruling class, but it also tricks the civilians, right? The populace, to think that their fellow neighbor voted for this or that. So it's really fucking nefarious. Right now we have an election in Colombia, and it's kind of interesting because there's so many great things about their election that's so transparent, but the final results are done on a computer. The official results.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Go down to the Central Tabulation Center, and that's where they can change and the fuckery can come into play. And the United States or Israel is usually, if not always, involved in these countries because they got resources that the Western, corporations want, that they need over there, especially now that there's a chase for it with China. They're rushing to get all that cobalt, that nickel, and that lithium. And Latin America's got a lot of it. So does Africa. And that's why the Americans in the West and the Israelis are so involved. The Zionists are so involved with these elections. And, it's so simple. When you see a clean, fair election right in front of your face, you're like, we can do this. And if we do this, we can fix some things. If we, the people, had the ability to hire and fire the right people, things would be different, Des. Things would be different.
So to piggyback on that, what also makes it interesting is that, say that the side that you do like lost, but you are confident enough in your elections. You're like, well, there was a messaging issue. You can actually start doing some legitimate diagnosing and deducing to figure out what went wrong as a party, as a people, as activists, as organizers. And you have the confidence to know if you go back and do it the right way the next time, you have a fair chance to win. That is what makes a legitimate election system so, I guess, beautiful, because it's like, we got to take the L. We have to take it because we know our system's legit and we know how to actually go about winning next time. In the United States, it doesn't work like that. I knew the election was rigged the first time in 2015, 2016, whenever I participated in it, working for the Bernie Sanders campaign. And there was an attempt the next time, over the next 2 to 3 years, to address some of the rigging and how we can go about kind of trying to, not necessarily because it's going to be there, right? But we're aware of it and we're going to mitigate it. Cool. Except for we weren't aware that there were even more ways that they could rig it. And so even though there was like a for example, I worked for Tulsi. Everybody knows that. I worked for Tulsi before she became a complete and total coward and traitor, because she was, at that point, hands down the best candidate out of everybody, including the independents. And one thing that was wild was watching in real time how they were changing the debate rules. For example, what rules you can have to get on the debate stage, how they were changing what you needed to do to fundraise and qualify, and how delegates were being counted, and all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm like, hold on, we didn't deal with this with Bernie. Where are these rules coming from? Oh no, they're being invented as they go along. Well, how can they do that if this is because these elections are federal elections, but the excuse that they give us whenever we try to hold one party or another accountable for the way they're running the primaries is, well, no, but they're a private corporation. Well, no, because these elections affect everybody, and then you put ridiculous amounts of roadblocks and barriers for someone to run outside of the party. So that's not an election now, because I'm not actually getting to make a choice, because maybe this person who would have been a great candidate never got the opportunity. Because like with New York and Jill Stein, this past election, we just arbitrarily decided to change the rules for the amount of money you have to raise and the amount of signatures you have to have.
Yeah.
Now,
by the way, Des,
right now, if you can't do it, sorry. That's not an election, guys. That's an auction. That's an auction, basically.
Des, thank you so much for calling in. I want to try to get to the next call. I think we had our first person in the queue. Let's see if they held on. But thanks for calling in, Des. Any last words?
Salute to you fellas. I plan on calling in again. Keep this show up. I love the crowd participation here. It makes me feel like I'm not going so crazy. As far as the Zionist aspect of it is concerned, because so when Nico was saying that they did all this to change the rules in 2024, they had the sham primary, and then they just picked someone else and nobody cared. And that's a really scary state of affairs, where they don't blink an eye. They just go, "Oh, we had a bad night," and then they don't.
Glass ceiling, Glass ceiling, Des. Come on.
What rule was that in the charter, Pasta, that the VP is automatically the nominee if the president decides to drop out right after the primary is over? Where do they do that at?
I am not having this racist, misogynistic talk on drive time in the morning. Kamala Harris was there to break glass ceilings. Des from Michigan calling in. We love you. Let's get to the next caller.
She was smoking glass.
One out. Let's see if we get one in. Josh. Thank you, Des, by the way.
Waiting for it to ring.
Let's see. We're testing the system. We do it. We do it live.
All right, let's do this.
Well, you can.
Caller, who is this and where you calling from?
Oh, this is Kevin from Rockaway.
The professor has joined us this morning. Rockaway, New York, baby. Kevin, this is Nico. Nico, this is Kevin. Audience, you guys remember the professor? He's calling in again.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person too, so excuse me. But Nico, right on the money. I like, and I'm it's just a turn of a phrase. I'm not, because Nico, obviously, you don't have the patois or whatever, but you got the dreads. I was thinking, Rasta and pasta. You know what I mean? Or pasta and Rasta, like whatever, But anyway. No, it's good stuff. I got to tell you, I really don't understand the AI stuff. I try to stay as far away from that stuff as possible. But what I don't understand is, and maybe Nico, you can enlighten us on this. Like we have, non-potable water. In a city like New York City, where everything goes to a water treatment plant, right, run by the EPA, I think. You know, why can't it just be recycled water? Why does it have to be fresh? You know what I mean? Like, why can't it just be basically toilet water that's cleaned and put to a certain degree, you know, whatever degree that they need it. That was just one of the things I wanted to say. Should I get it all out now, and then I could just listen and you guys?
Why don't we start with that? Hold on to that. Let's do one at a time, because I need the answer to that too as well. Why? And I don't know if you know it, Nico. Why can't they just recycle and use the same water they use for the cooling method to begin with in the first place? I don't know. That's
you lost sound, Pasta.
I mean,
I don't know what happened.
What'd you say, Josh? What'd you say, Josh?
I'm not hearing either one of these guys. Give me a minute.
Oh, well, we're hearing each other.
Me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're all hearing each other.
We're just missing the host.
But
all right, I'm taking over. Listen, this is.
I think they can hear you.
Right.
But so this is
that question was more towards Nico. You know, just until Pasta can get his you know.
I'm gonna go get more coffee then, real quick.
Whatever, sound up or whatever.
Can you hear me?
Hold up, you want me to answer the question?
Oh, hold on.
Josh, what's going on?
Oh, that was weird. Hey, say something, y'all.
Testing.
Yo.
No.
Yeah,
everybody hear us on the chat. Can you?
All right.
I'm
going to leave you on the line. I'm going to come back in and out, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Sleepy
Can hear you
Josh.
one more time.
Sleepy Josh. All right.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell.
Nico, answer this question.
So, a lot of the water is actually recycled.
Should I hang in or?
Yeah.
Hang in there. Oh man, we lost.
Josh, he's going to come out and come back in. So
that means we lost.
we just lost. Oh, because Josh left.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I can still. Hopefully, he can still hear me. If we need to readdress it, I can readdress it. But basically, the reason why we have to use so first of all, they do use recycled water in a lot of cases, but obviously they prefer fresh water. And my assumption would be because, over time, like water that's full of like minerals and lead erodes like metals, anything that you would be using it for, it would erode it over time. So the water has to be clean. And like I said, it doesn't have to be the water that the population uses, though. That's the issue. It's right. Like I said, in China, they don't do that at the end of the day. Like,
I mean, that sounds like their problem, doesn't it? I mean,
it is. That's exactly it.
It's like NATO with the Corvairs. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, it's your problem that you don't want to install seatbelts. Like
that's it.
Use a material, whether maybe it doesn't have to be metal. Maybe it has to be a composite. Of something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I agree, and I don't know if you were listening earlier, but that's why I said where we're at in this AI movement, and where the private companies that are like, especially in the United States, that are responsible for building this infrastructure, we are inefficient. We are extremely inefficient, and it's because we're effectively still, infants when it comes to the technology of AI, and we will continue to be inefficient in the United States because capitalism is inefficient. It is like it's ethos and pathos is how can we make the most money possible in the most inefficient way? Because the most inefficient way for us, generally speaking, is the most efficient way for them to make money. Because inefficiency only generally, from my experience, has cost taxpayers money, not corporations. If you get what I'm saying. So them bettering, sorry, the Portuguese and English is mixing up in my head. Them improving their infrastructure would cost them more money in the short term, not in the long term, but in the short term. So it's like, no, we'd rather just be inefficient and pass that off to the consumer and the taxpayer, many of whom in the areas like, older generations don't use AI like that. They're not getting any benefits from AI or these data centers or anything like that. And across 20 states, at least, there's been $9 billion of taxpayer money and subsidies given to these private corporations without the taxpayers having any say. And that's just the money that we know about. We don't even know at all they because they don't have to show us yet how much money the taxpayers
Right.
actually
You can
spend.
basically double that. Yeah.
It probably is.
Easily. Yeah. I was also wondering, Nico, see, I'm an old school guy. I still I remember, I got most of my reading done on the subway when I was, you know what I mean? And I used to actually carry around a dictionary and sometimes an encyclopedia, in my bag so I could look up stuff that I didn't understand. And the AI, what I see with it is it kind of caters to the lizard brain, because whenever you can just snap your fingers and like Google now, where it used to send like all different kind of links, right? And it used to say, now it just goes right to whatever that is, Chat GDP or whatever it is. And
they use Gemini now. Gemini. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the answers you're getting are not, even if it's correct, you're forgetting it immediately. I mean, just as a society, as a civil society, unless you have to research something and look for sources, right? You have to, when like a true academic, when you look at a
you
book,
gotta pay the energy cost. You have to pay the energy
to the back of
for it to stick.
Yeah, you go to the back of the book and you see who are they citing, right? I mean, it was famous. Norman Finkelstein told a very funny story one time where he agreed to do this book, and it was like some Holocaust denier or something like that. And he said he gets to Italy and they said, "Oh, they're gonna love you." And they gave him the book and he looks in the back and it just says the sightings are all like Norman Finkelstein, Lyndon LaRouche, Norman Finkelstein, Lyndon LaRouche. It was crazy. And just like with the internet, I mean, it's a great tool, but it's also mostly used for porn for a lot of people, right?
Mostly.
And yeah, and I just wanted to say about the elections, because you were just talking about that right before I got on. That used to be run, if you're old enough to know, by the Women's League of Voters.
The League of Women's Voters.
The League of Women's
now.
Voters.
Yeah.
And it was after, I'm pretty sure it was after Perot, because he got 19% of the vote. But when Nader was running, they started throwing all these kind of well, you've got to be polling at 15%, or you've got to be polling at 5. It was arbitrary.
Yeah. To get on the debate stage, you got to be 1/12 Irish on your mother's side and little shit. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to be a minimum of 5'11". Right.
You had to have at least tripe once in your life.
It's funny that you say arbitrary, because that's the only way you can describe the requirements. Because when they talk about, for example, the minimum donation threshold, where did y'all come up with that? What what algorithm, what math equation, what metric did you use to determine that this was a sufficient quantity of independent donations to determine whether somebody is viable? Yeah. There's nothing. I looked it up. I mean, there's nothing.
$1 over what the person made so they can disqualify them. That's what.
Yeah, basically, it's.
Also just the fact that what I think it's called, you guys can correct me, the Presidential Debates Commission is a private company run by basically former heads of the DNC and the GOP. You know what I mean? who get to make these arbitrary rules. And you know, I just wanted to bring that up. Guys, this is a great show, man, and I'm learning a lot. I appreciate it.
And
Appreciate it, man. We learn a lot from you guys too.
By the way.
Thanks, man.
Sorry, go ahead, Nico. I don't want
No,
to.
I was saying, we learned a lot from you guys too, and yeah, that the fact mentioned even the Presidential Debate Commission. That's another good point. How can we vote our way out of this problem?
Yeah.
They've rigged the game entirely, and I mean, the American elections might be the most rigged elections in the world, which is, I mean, I guess it shouldn't be that much of a stretch to say that. But when you actually start trying to, I was talking to my dad last night about the justice system and, you know, why I decided not to be a lawyer. And, you know, I was explaining to him like, you know, it's our justice system is ass backwards because we elect our DAs, right? District attorneys. We elect our district judges. But the moment it's time for you to become a federal judge and the cases that you review have huge implications on the future of our society, no, actually the president is going to select it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then who are they going to be held accountable to? Whatever party's in charge.
You know, by the way, elections too, you can see how demoralizing the whole system is, like where people just don't want to step up and do it. Look at the mayor's race in California, where I think what's his name, Spencer Pratt is running against Karen Bass. I mean, it's like, who are these two people that they're running right now? It's just awful. Karen Bass, I mean, she's been under the microscope of so many of the activists, the leftist activists in the streets.
She was
right?
We was on her ass in 2018, 20. I mean, yeah, right?
Awful, right? Just and now you got who's going to step up to go against him? And these are crazy. You got Spencer Pratt. Now you got Dan Bilzerian out there, which by the way,
Florida. Oh my God!
By the way, I've been talking about this new right, this populist right, this anti-Zionist / anti-Semitic right, because they distort the two and stuff like that. They're also pro-capitalist, anti-Islamic, anti-collectivist, all that same thing. They want the status quo.
It can't be populist,
right? They just don't.
They can't be. We got to correct that. That's a misnomer, Pasta. We got to correct that. I got to step in because you say they're populist and anti-collectivist, and those two things can't exist together. Those are mutually exclusive.
Right.
No, I said the populist right, if you want to call them that. Some people call them the populist right.
But I feel like we have to check that shit because it's a lie. They've been trying to use. So at some point, populism got co-opted by the right to say like, oh, we like Trump and we're not George Bush and we're not,
95%,
and therefore we're populist.
Is the same exact. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you're not.
You're right.
No, you're not. You're not. And it's like calling Kamala Harris progressive just because she's a Democrat and isn't an old white man. Like, no, she's not progressive. I mean, even the progressives are not progressive, really.
Nancy Pelosi is called a progressive now today.
Yeah, bro, she was called a progressive back in the day, which is crazy.
The term woke, Nico, is not being used the way it was used back in the days. Woke was a positive thing. Now it's a negative thing, right? Now it's like
that's how you know we've entered into a very dystopian point in our history in the United States. Whenever words no longer have meaning. Like they just double speak, right? Populism. What does that mean? Everybody's individualizing. You're on your own. Huh? That don't sound right. Yep, well, that's what it means. Well, what's communism? It's when you rob from the poor people to give to the rich using the government. Oh, so you mean like capitalism is doing like at this very moment? No, that's just crony capitalism. Well, sounds like the caricature of communism you just described. Yeah. So like maybe it's capitalism you're talking about. And you just don't know the definitions of either one. They don't care.
I would like to call that group that I'm talking about. It's very important to talk about that group because this is how they usher in the same old bullshit. This is how they co-opt the movement and move in. I believe that Dan Bilzerian, Nick Fuentes, I believe they're feds by far or working for the feds. I don't believe they're
Dan got debts to pay, bro. Dan got debts. You remember back in the day when Dan started that company that went bottom up? He was scamming a bunch of people. He disappeared for like 2 years. And then when he saw like Nick Fuentes and a lot of the right making comebacks by criticizing Israel, that boy jumped on it because he ain't never missed an opportunity to scam.
Well, I think he was bought and paid for because I don't believe when he tells people, I made my money playing poker. Like, no, you didn't. To win that big of a stack, you have to have a big stack to get in there to win that. And I've seen that guy play poker. He's not that good of a poker player, right? That's when I first saw that guy. And once again, the keys to the kingdom, that's the phrase that Nico used to use all the time. There are people with the keys
All
to the
right,
kingdom.
we got a caller popping in.
All right, we're gonna pop in. But Kev, thank you so much for calling in. But really, really quickly, I want to say this new right, whatever you want to call it, this one that's an anti-Zionist / anti-Semitism, right? Who are they bagging on now? They're bagging on Norm Finkelstein, right? I saw Leandra Johnny share something that was going after Norm Finkelstein, and they were pointing out the fact that he's a communist or a collectivist. These people want the same form of fucking capitalism, and that's why they showed up. Let's get to the next caller. Professor Kevin from Rockaway, we love you. He calls the WBAI Wednesday show. He got up early just for me and you, Nico. Send that man some love.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Chris. I'm calling from Florida.
What's up, Chris? Is this Lida guy?
Yeah.
Lida guy. The guy is, I don't know, really quickly. Chris Romero is calling us. Thank you so much, Chris. Lida guy was the name of the character. Jean-Claude Van Damme's first movie. It was called No Retreat, No Surrender, right? And really, it's a karate movie, and he played like the Russian at the very end. And at the very end, the main character had to beat Jean-Claude Van Damme. But the guy was trained by the ghost of Bruce Lee, and he called the ghost of Bruce Lee Lida Ga. So I called Chris Lida Ga because Chris has also helped me out in my journey to fight against acupuncture. He's a ancient Chinese, modern Chinese. I don't know which one. I'll let him explain it, but he's into Chinese medicine. He's done acupuncture on me. He's given me herbs. He's also given me the mentality of what Chinese medicine does. Welcome to the show, Chris. Thank you for showing on up.
Yeah, it's been a good show. I mean, I'm not too savvy with a lot of the political stuff, but I have my own personal stance on politics and what we call so-called democracy. But now we're starting to see the age of AI coming in, and you guys were talking about earlier as far as like AI taking over certain jobs and things like that, and there's certain things that AI can and cannot do, and there's claims that there are being made as far as what AI can and cannot do. Like a few weeks ago, it was my first time getting in my friend's car. She had a Tesla, and that thing drove us by itself, and as
You're a brave man. Couldn't be me.
As I watched the screen as I was sitting in the Tesla, now when I was driving, I think I'm a very good driver. One, because I drive to not hit anybody, and I drive not to get hit. But I'm always looking at my mirrors. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always looking at different evasive routes that I can take while I'm driving. And most people don't do that anymore. Most people, you can watch them as you're driving, and they're looking in their phones or they're doing something, and they're just not, they're not looking far ahead. But this thing was doing that, and I was just like, wow, you know what? That's actually pretty convenient. But I do that myself, and I think that the convenience of that it would kind of be great, because especially if you're going on a long drive. But the other things that, I think that that AI cannot do is, I would guess, would be the, medical and healthcare system, and that's one of the things that, like, as Pasta said, I do acupuncture, and I like Chinese philosophy, and it's based off of nature, and you cannot substitute nature with artificial intelligence.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely right.
What are your thoughts?
That is golden. Yeah. That is, I can't, you know what? I'm upset that I haven't actually thought about that. So if you don't mind, Chris, I'm going to probably steal some of what you said and say it later on my show.
Borrow it.
I'm going to.
Geniuses borrow, thieves steal. Just borrow it.
Yeah, I'm going to borrow it. I'm going to borrow it, and I might not give you credit, but I'm just, no, but in all seriousness, so my nickname, Chris, is the Shroom Shaman. I'm a big believer in shrooms. I don't know if you've ever tried any, but if you have not, I would or if you have and you haven't tried Enigma, the strain Enigma, which I've never even seen in the US. I don't know if they have it there, but the first time I ever tried it was in Brazil, and it was like a truly like internally revolutionizing experience. I don't know how to explain it, but the things that I think about, that I learned, a lot of people call them downloads. While I consider shrooms to be natural medicine, like I'm like, I don't know, how could AI ever figure this out without a human telling them? Because they don't have the ability to interact. They don't have that the medium of being able to interact with nature to learn. So the AI will always fall short in that regard. Like even with medicine, like you said, you can enter some things in the AI. Guess what they're going to give you? They're going to give you what medical experts on Google or that are pre-approved, that are on these websites, that are on these quote unquote what do they call them? The journals, the peer-reviewed journals. Yeah, like okay, but we just saw a bunch of them get it ridiculously wrong, and we're still paying the price for it. So I 100% agree with you, Chris. That the fact that that AI doesn't have an ability to interact with nature and understand herbs and things like that in a way a human can not only interact with it but manipulate the natural medicine that we have available to us for every specific situation. AI can't do that, and like I said, there's some things that they'll never be able to replace humans with.
It's very interesting. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say that even before the invention of AI, just this medical system that we now have at the forefront of here in the United States, it's all a fallacy. As I was going to school for Chinese medicine and I'm doing all these research papers and I'm reading this stuff about diabetes or cancers or certain illnesses, the texts and the journals, the medical journals will actually say, well, we don't exactly know how this works, but we believe it works this way. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be kind of like, I was like thinking to myself, man, we're at this part of our life where we're claiming that we have all this technology and they're saying they don't exactly know. And so that always was kind of in the back of my mind. And then when I had found out about Chinese medicine, and I had taken a class, it was called the Principles of Acupuncture. And there it was that I learned just about 5 elements. And, when you look at nature and you look at Chinese medicine, the 5 elements being let's just say like the 5 elements, I saw that as this is what's true. Why? Because I can see it in nature. I see it in the real world, not only in the plant life, but in the human body. And it was very simplistic. There was no need in Chinese medicine, they don't even regard the pancreas, and so with things like that.
Oh, they were already ahead. They were already ahead of the game.
Yeah. How can you not regard the pancreas? And it's because that's the way that, nature works. You don't have to know all these small little intricate things as far as like learning how the kidneys actually filter the blood, going through the nephrons and the glomerulus and all this other kind of nonsense. I mean, all that stuff is kind of cool when you read about it, but what do they do to help people with kidney failure? They don't even know. And so all they do is put people on dialysis. But the way Chinese medicine looks at it, we look at the body. What does the body tell me? And I look at imbalances, either excesses or deficiencies. And when I see an excess or a deficiency, I then reduce or I tonify to bring the body back into balance. And it's very simple. It's very simple. So, we could get by without all this, these small microcosms of the human body and the way it works. Like, to be honest, I don't even know if that's really true as far as what they say, because, again, they have no cures for many diseases.
Or they do have cures and they won't release them. But you just look at cancer, for example. The way they treat cancer is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what do they call it? What's the word in English, Pasta? Chemotherapy.
Yes.
And what it is
radiation, but
yeah, radiation. But yeah, using radiation to kill all the nutrients in your body so that the cancer starves. And I'm like, well, I feel like that should be a more efficient process because you can just figure out what the cancer is specifically feeding on and make sure that they cut that out while increasing the positive nutrients that could be used to kill the cancer. And they're like, nah, we're just going to try this method that only works like 10% of the time. And good luck. People, I actually, and this is complete and total speculation, YouTube, wherever is watching. I have a theory that radiation, that in chemotherapy actually has a higher kill rate than cancer does.
yeah,
I believe that
it probably
chemo
does,
kills
'cause it
people.
kills all the good organs too, right? So
Yeah. And
and-
the hope that you get the cancer in that it doesn't, and that the cancer doesn't come back. I'm like, the logic there doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if that's a good idea. Probably a billionaire.
we just had a friend that we lost that was kicked out of the hospital pretty much because she wouldn't take the chemotherapy. And that's just a whole nother mess. I really don't want to kind of get into that. Me and Chris can talk about that at another time. But I got to say that, there is this kind of like American exceptionalism mindset in which they use it against people, right? To make you think that, it's like when Donald Trump was, taken up, is we have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Everybody wants our healthcare system. It's the American Western exceptionalism. It almost showed its true fucking ass during COVID. Remember when they weren't accepting the other COVID vaccines that to come into this country, or you had to have one of our COVID vaccines?
Yeah.
That's who we are in a nutshell right there too as well. There is not a healthcare bill out there that's been proposed that incorporates Chinese medicine, functional medicine. And that's the thing. Me being sick when I had this chronic inflammation problem, I worked a lot with Chris, but I also worked with a functional medicine. And there was even a time where I used some Western medicine. And really, to tell you the truth, I have an understanding now of my whole body and what's going around. And I would tell you this much. The majority of now healing in my body and take care of my body kind of exists within Chinese medicine first, functional medicine second. And if, God forbid, something happens where I can't get out of my bed and I have to take something like prednisone, which was a situation where the inflammation wouldn't go down without the prednisone, but I knew it wasn't the treatment. It was just a Band-Aid solution. Then I'll go. But there's no bill that we have out there. And when you see a lot of these bills that are proposed by, and this is the part you might not know, Chris, but proposed by Bernie Sanders, or what's her name, Pramila Jayapal, they don't incorporate Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, acupuncture. You can't, if that's the thing when people go, well, Pasta, you said before you don't want universal health care. I said I would take universal health care and the system we have, but we have a sick care system.
Yeah.
I want to push for a real healthcare system where you, him, anybody can take that stipend, that money, that tax money that we spend, instead of spending it on us, to use in whatever area you want, including Chinese medicine.
I'll take it a step further, Pasta. I believe that given how we pay more for healthcare than any other country in the world, which is nuts because we're not guaranteed healthcare, but we pay so that I should be able to. There should be a separate stipend in case I want to travel to be treated.
Yeah.
Because maybe I want to go to a doctor in Africa that I trust because they use a mixture of modern medicine and Eastern medicine in their own. Like, I feel like I have that right and that I should be able to, we pay enough for it. Like, people pay enough out of it. It's crazy enough that we have to pay for insurance as it is, but the fact that the money's coming out of your check and being thrown into this, how do we even have a medical budget? What is it used for? Does anybody have the answer to that?
I had no idea.
Because how do we spend the most money in the world on this? It's not like they're paying for these doctors to go to school, which is why we're like at a shortage right now. It's not like they're paying for these nurses to go to school. If anything, nursing school is becoming more expensive because people don't want the stress of being a doctor anymore because they're becoming overwhelmed with the amount of patients, and they're kind of like mailing it in a lot of the times. I don't even know what we use this medical money for. It's probably to pay insurance companies, right? To pay pharmaceutical companies, to pay like that type of stuff. It's not actually being used to settle medical issues for the people paying into it. It's being used to pay off the companies to engage in sick care, like Pasta just said. If I want to go to Cuba to take the goddamn the throat cancer inhaler, I should be able to do that. And it should be paid for.
Yeah, one thing to think about too is like, so we talked about, or you guys were talking about AI and China earlier, and we all know that China has been looked at as a model of how AI can work, and the digital surveillance system and the social credit system. One thing to think about in China, Chinese medicine and Chinese philosophy, it just works. It's very simple. It's all based off of nature. And I believe that if you don't know this, you guys can look this up, but the Rockefellers back in when the Rockefellers came into power,
Yep.
and they realized that they could use petrochemicals for something other than just oil. And they started making synthetic medical pharmaceuticals. Not only did they look to overtake the medical institutions within the United States and then forming the American Medical Association, the AMA, but they also went over into China. And the Rockefellers were also naturopaths. They also used homeopathy, and they used, I believe, acupuncture. When the Rockefellers, I think it was the son, John D., I think he went to China in the early 1920s. Okay, it was the early 1920s that he went into China. And I believe that's where he then encountered acupuncture. And it was shortly thereafter, about 1928, 1929, is when they actually had outlawed the use of acupuncture in Chinese medicine. And they started shifting over to Western medicine. What happened? And so there was a period of time in the early 1920s or the early 1900s where China had made it illegal to use acupuncture in Chinese medicine. They had to use Western medicine. And so the doors kind of got closed off. And so acupuncture still flourished in Korea and in Japan because they weren't exposed or had been captured by the West like China had. But now when you go to school, when I was going through school, they call it traditional Chinese medicine. And it's not the same as classical Chinese medicine. They still teach us all the same things, but there are things that they don't really cover in school anymore, because now they have people that are just needling machines. They'll know the acupuncture points, they'll know the meridians, and they'll know certain things, but they don't really know the reasons why, or even the more deeper psychological and emotional aspects of Chinese medicine. And what I believe is that all illnesses, whether it's chronic or even acute illnesses, unless it's a traumatic injury or like a mechanical or physical injury, is all based off of emotion. And when a person becomes emotionally imbalanced, that's when illnesses come in. And
that is so true, man.
That's why I call him Li Daga. Li Daga means big brother, I think, in Chinese, right, Chris?
I might need to get Chris's number when I get back to the States to visit, man. I just might just do a checkup.
You got to see him. He's, and Chris is just an amazing person. I met him at the Third Eye Carnival in Tennessee, and we've been friends ever since. This homeboy just jumps in the car, drives 4 hours one way to go treat some friends of his, refuses to take money. I got to sneak him like a card or some food, put in his car when he goes back up, because he's just such an amazing person. Chris, we got somebody on hold, I think, right, Josh?
I believe so.
Yes, I believe so. Josh.
Google's being weird today, man. Google's crapped out on me about 15 times.
Let's get Li Daga the last final words. Li Daga, anything to say?
I'll just say that, if anything, again, I don't really believe in the whole medical system, or I'm sorry, the political system. And I was actually looking at a book from Edward Bernays, Propaganda, and you can look this up in chapter 1, the very first page and the very first paragraph it's called Organizing Chaos. And you guys can go and read that, and that'll kind of give you what my ideas are about the so-called democracy is. But the other way that, I guess, in living in these times and ages, rather than give your time and attention away to politics because it's all a big joke, is to focus on your own personal life. And the way you can do that is through looking at you and your family. And one way to do that is looking at the healthcare system and looking at your own personal health. And so I would tell anybody, if you are dealing with any kind of illness, or whether it's cancer, whether it's diabetes, whether whatever it may be, go and see an acupuncturist. If you find a good one, and if they are good, they'll do things what it's based off of what's called 5-element acupuncture. And that's, something that if you were to do that, I think you would be getting yourself more out of the system, less reliant on these pharmaceuticals and this Western, healthcare system that is just killing people. And that would be my last word.
And then we could talk to Gabrielle Freedom, who used to be in the supplement business, right? And we can combine the two, because I think that's where I like staying in functional medicine and Chinese medicine, right? Like Chinese medicine is repairing those organs that do the work that needs to be done, keeping all the sickness and the dirt out and stuff. And functional medicine just deals with like herbs and vitamins and supplements and whatnot. And the way you eat is very important when it comes to functional medicine as well.
Yes.
So you combine the two, and then you just have to what do you call it? Battlefield medicine, which is the Western medicine. God forbid you get a bullet shot or a bad cut, then you have to deal with that. But you don't have to rely on that theory because it's a sick care system, not a healthcare system. That was lead I got Chris Romero calling from Florida. We love you, Chris.
Thanks for
We'll
calling.
see you again soon.
Y'all know a lot of athletes use acupuncture. Like it's a norm, and like professional athletes use it, right?
Our body is filled with energy. It needs to be free flowing. Let's get to the next caller. Let's do it.
I'm waiting. All right, here we go. You're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Snort from Iowa.
Snort.
Yeah, we got him.
What's going on?
Not
Long
much.
time listener here, Nico.
Going back to data. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just introducing you, Snork, saying you're a long-time listener. You've probably seen Nico. You've probably seen Snork in your chats before, Snorky. So
nice to meet you, man.
Oh, nice to meet you. I've been talking to you for years. Well, anyway, going way back, data centers. It's almost not seeing the real problems going on because we're concentrating on what the news is and not what the real issues are behind it. Starting with the water usage. No. Let's start with the energy usage.
okay.
So when we look at the energy, we're looking at how much energy we can measure. And electricity is real easy to measure. And if I get off on the side for a little bit, a long time ago, when the Soviet Union was still in play, when they put in a nuclear power plant. Here are our nuclear power plants. We put holding pools for the water that's spent until the temperature is about 4 degrees above, I think it's 4 degrees above what the river temperature is. And at 4 degrees, it's considered safe to dump into the rivers. And we exhaust the extra heat from the nuclear power generation up into the atmosphere. And in the Soviet Union, they instead put pipes around a town and they would use it to heat all the houses or the roadways. And they found other usage for it. Here, that would impact the income of people who donate money for candidates. And I would say really people who donate large amounts of money to candidates. So we start off right away with one of the issue we're saying is we're using data and we're producing, or we're using electricity and we're creating heat. We're not saying how do we use the heat. We're saying at that point, when they're done with the heat, exhaust it to the air, because exhausting it to the air is the cheapest, easiest way to go. That doesn't mean it's the best way to go ecologically. Now, we could use it. And another side, when we used to put in new oil fields, people would get a subsidy to offset the cost of them developing the well, basically the infrastructure necessary to get a well going. And it was huge amounts of money. We're talking at least hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars for a large oil rig to get going. Financial things would even include studies for what the ecological damage is. All of that money would be put aside. When we go back to the data centers,
Mhm.
we're talking about this huge amount of heat being put off. We're never asking, why aren't we using that heat? If I go back a little bit farther, when we're going into Iowa, and you're pretty much city, right? And I'm mostly rural. So out here, and I'm gonna upset a whole bunch of people right away. When you have cereal in the morning, when you cook, when you're doing anything, a lot of times you're using grains. When those grains are in the field, they're moist. They actually, September through October, will leave the corn in the field to get the humidity of the corn down to a certain level. It's not down far enough. They'll bring the grain inside, and they will use natural gas, to heat it up and get more of the moisture into the air. And I don't know if you remember from back when we used to have caucuses in Iowa. If you had a caucus in the winter and you drove by like a small town like Clinton, Iowa, I can't remember how many people are there. You couldn't see Clinton, Iowa because of the field of steam around it. The excess gas that they would use, because they had to normalize what's going on, would have a fire flume at least 100 feet tall at the edge of the city, going on all the time. And that drying of I can't remember, I thought it was corn. That drying of that corn at that town uses more power, and it puts more water into the air than a data center. There's all of those all throughout the Midwest, all putting it. And again, the amount of power that we're putting up there in heat is enough heat. Like I said, ice is a major problem here. Ice might not be a problem in Florida, but ice on the roads is a really big problem. Just if we couldn't do anything else, using that water to keep our roads warm. And I don't want to just say this is what we should do, but we should be looking into how can we use the heat.
Yes.
Because
I never hear that conversation, Snorky. That is so amazing. Like, why don't we use the fucking heat, right? Like, can't we use the heat to make coolers to cool it back down? Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, we have entire machines dedicated to making heat, to be able to generate enough heat to generate energy. And I guess when you think about it like that, we have so much excess heat now. Why wouldn't it be used to, why wouldn't it be recycled, I guess is the word.
And I like the fact that Snorky pointing out, by the way, Snorky, really quickly, I'll hand it right back, that for what they're doing with the corn to reproduce corn, that they already have a lot of this heat coming off. I've seen those fires before too as well, and nobody's talking about that. They're just complaining about the heat from the data centers. I think that's important to point out as well. Continue, Snorky, please. You're educating us.
Now, in all honesty, in August, I plan on filing for a patent for a device to recover that electricity, or that heat back into electricity. But it won't be all of it.
Hey, man! Say no more, because YouTube listening.
If you get that Scott, be a sponsor of the show. We'll be sponsored by Snorky's.
Hey, yeah,
I need you.
Well, anyway, but I mean that's out there. There's all kinds of things that when we have a new topic, that when one politician thinks they can use it as an edge over the other politicians, they will say that, the other one's for data centers, or they don't talk about the problems. They'll zoom in on a problem, and they won't step back and say, well, why is that a problem? How have we handled this for other problems? So a lot of people don't realize, you don't see like an oil rig out in the ocean. You don't see an oil rig without one of these huge fires on the end. So they balance the gases by offshooting them and burn them.
Yeah,
there's more energy being put out on an oil rig than there is in a data.
Can I sorry to interrupt? I just have to say, I know that you said the politicians don't think about it, but I think that the reality is the politicians are idiots. Most of our politicians are legitimate dumbasses. I think that we give them way too much credit at times. They're corrupt, but I feel like their idiocy, or like as I like to call it, dumbacity, is actually what allows them to be so easily corruptible, because it is actually easier to be corruptible than it is for them to think.
Yes. and they're not put there because they have smart brains. They're put down there because they are corrupted and they're there to do a job. So you definitely get the biggest idiots. That's the problem we have right now. Like the judges that have been selected by all these fucking idiots in this kind of like nepotism. Now our whole system is shot over there too as well. I've witnessed some awful Gavin Newsom judges in California. I got to tell you, these guys are fucking idiots. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave Rubin is still famous somehow, guys. Yeah, I think about it. That is probably a lot of dumb people on the radio on as independent content creators. Dave Rubin might actually be the dumbest. He is like short bus, and he says everything with so much confidence. And I'm like, I think that actually it might make him brave to be that confident in how stupid he is, and knowing everybody's going to insult him afterwards, and he doesn't care. That's like these are the type of people and politicians we're dealing with. So it would take somebody like you to point out what some would consider to be obvious, but that's because you're intelligent. They're not.
They are not. Yeah.
Well, I must bring up one thing of dumbassery from way back when Tulsi Gabbard was running for president.
Oh, shit.
I'm in Iowa, and there was a big thing in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where all of the candidates were getting together. And we were going to have a parade the next week, and I wanted one of the posters from each campaign to be on the little wagon that we had. And I was accosted by the Elizabeth Warren people.
Oh God!
Because I walked up to the Tulsi Gabbard. I explained who I was. I asked for a poster. They gave me a really nice poster, and immediately there was a swarm of Elizabeth Warren people going, "You can't have that. You can't put that on a Democratic thing." And I'm like, "Well, why?" And they go, "Because she's not a person of color like Elizabeth Warren is."
Huh?
Because of the Indian. Elizabeth
Cherokee
Warren.
Indian.
They were. This was in Iowa.
1,000th Indian or something.
Yeah.
After she had already been exposed.
Yeah.
No, she hadn't been exposed at that point yet. People.
Oh, so this must have been at the very beginning of the election, the campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And Tulsi is a woman of color.
Polynesian.
Right? And Elizabeth Warren, I mean, that is the dumbassery those people were saying. They were really going with that stuff. So I know that dumbassery up close and personal. We all do. We went to a bunch of Democratic convention stuff, Nico and I and the Fee and Johnny and the crew, and we were out there doing those things. So
going to these Democratic events, well, actually going to any political event like that, but definitely the Democratic convention, one we went to in California, for example, it just feels like you're in a parody being filmed in real time. Because you're like, wow, these people actually exist. They are just as awful in person, if not worse, than they are online. Oh my God. And we spend a lot of our time laughing at people because we couldn't believe it. We're like, wow, these people are serious. They're a whole like I would talk to somebody about Kamala Harris, ask them like, so why do you support Kamala Harris again? Well, it's just about time that we had a Black woman as president, and all this other stuff that she did. Like, for example, whenever she was the DA of San Francisco, because she was there to replace another DA. People don't know this story. She was there to replace another DA because that DA was prosecuting the local Catholic Church for exactly what you think they were prosecuting them for. And she replaced them and then dismissed all the charges against that church in San Francisco. Like, that was my introduction to her via my grandmother. She was the one who told me about that. And so when I explained it to the common person, I said, well, what are we going to do? We're just going to keep focusing on the past? I'm like, huh? Isn't that how we determine who we vote for? Like, the history of their policy advocacy?
Johnny Button's talking shit.
We're talking serious stuff here about...
Nah, you like Kendrick Lamar, bro. Look, I know y'all short people. Y'all short men got that complex over there, Johnny.
You just got running. Snorky's talking some good stuff over here. Snorky, you just got pulled into Drake versus Kendrick Lamar.
Let me just say though,
coming in there.
I gotta give a shout out to Johnny, man. Love that guy. So proud of him, bro. Johnny, round of applause, bro. Keep doing your thing. So proud of you, bro.
Please. You a fool, Johnny.
I also
Wait,
wonder
He went from being an engineer to an engineer, a production engineer.
he
Boy,
was always an activist too, so his activist side must be screaming for some shit out there. Like, come on, Johnny, let's go to some elections. Let's get out to Latin America, man. Break the
hey,
mold.
bro, come
Break-
out. Hey,
I also wanted to
as
get
an
into-
aside,
Oh.
y'all know the Brazil election's coming up in October, bro.
All right, we know we got Colombia second round, Peru second round, and Brazil.
I'm terrified.
You got 2 rounds in Brazil, and you're gonna have 2 rounds. Lula's not gonna get it in the first round.
Lula probably going to win. Unfortunately, I mean, I can't really say unfortunately because there's not really any better options. But I say
don't want
unfortunately because
Bolsonaro's
okay. So can I just say I say unfortunately because he has Obama the hell out of Brazil, and it's scarier here because I watched Lula put away Bolsonaro, and even though I don't like Bolsonaro, it was the fashion in which he did it. It was to get rid of his competition. Because all the charges that they use against Bolsonaro were like his supporters vandalizing government buildings. It's like, okay, well, what does that have to do
They
with
had their
him?
J8. They had their J8. We had a J6. It was so many similarities.
Yeah.
And I
But
got
it was
into a chat, an
I'm like,
anti-imperialist
hold up.
chat, Nico, and I yelled that they should not have done to Bolsonaro what they did to Lula. It doesn't make. They didn't let Lula run. They threw him in jail so he couldn't run. I thought that was wrong. That he should have been able to run. Now they're doing the same thing, saying Bolsonaro can't participate in the next 2 or 3 elections. I'm like, why are you doing that?
What? No, bro. He ain't gonna be. He's like 50 years in prison.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be. If he gets out of prison, it will be like. Now, I do believe he'll get out because I believe that somebody from his party eventually will win again, and then they'll give him a pardon. I think that's what they're counting on.
Happen.
But at the end of the day, when I saw Lula do that, I was like, wow. So I had a fear that this was who he was going to end up being because, we found out when we were here the first time during that election that the CIA was here. Like, we were like, huh? For who? For Lula?
Lula
no.
talking to the Bolivian government. That was some shady shit right there. He's kind of like, you got these protesters, and here he is aligning himself with the Bolivian government. Snorky, you still with us?
I stand with the president and the government, and also stand with the people. And I just want a democratic resolution. What the hell? Like, what are you talking about? So you're telling Maduro that you won't let him join BRICS. You blocked him from joining BRICS. Even though y'all were friends, I don't know if y'all know, but Brazil, Venezuela, and Colombia have a very special relationship where like they basically don't even need visas to come into Brazil or vice versa. And it's like him and Maduro were friends. Maduro was advocating for him to be free whenever Lula was fico preso, but he was in prison. There you go. And then he gets kidnapped, and Lula. Okay, where you at, bro? My aunt, and it's my wife's aunt, guys. Yeah, I don't know if y'all seen this news on the on social media. A lot of people saying that he's raised the amount of money that poor families get. It's called Bolsa da Familia. So it's like a welfare check, basically. That's a lie. My aunt, who lives in a favela, making like the minimum, which is 1,600 reais a month, paying $450 or something like that for her rent, another fucking 60 or 70 for the bandidos, another 100 for gas every month, like things like that, bro. It went from like 600 to 400 to 300, then they just took it away without explanation.
Yeah.
And then my sister-in-law, hers was reduced from like 600 to 200 or 300 reais. And I have people in the States arguing with me about this, telling me that's not true. Look what these numbers say. I'm telling you it's true because my family is going through it right now. I'm having to resolve these issues for my family. Lula is like lying to people dead in their face, and there's nobody who is prepped right now to come in and actually replace him. That's the scary situation we're in right now because I know I'm about to have to cover this Brazil election, and I am trying to do everything to actually get my full citizenship before that because.
Yes, you don't want to be thrown out of the country, and
exactly
this is worth a lot of good scrutiny and things to talk about. But I also believe to get some of those checks, Nico, at one point, and Snorky, hang with us. We'll let you back in, but they believe to get some of those checks, you had to make sure that your vaccine card was all filled out.
They were doing that.
You got to get your vaccine. Lula is a vaccine salesman. I'll just tell you that much.
Bro, there's vaccine ads in the movie theaters now. On the trailers. I was like, what the hell? Have they already done this? She's like, my wife's like, no,
We get
I've
them
never done that.
over here.
At football
Snarky,
games.
where you at?
Yeah. Okay. Now back to the water. When we're talking about water, we have so many misconceptions about water. So this water is so clean when it leaves the plant. We're thinking that the water's dirty, and it's not. It's so clean that we have to limit how fast we can put it into the streams so that we don't change the composition of the streams.
Wow.
Because it actually has all the minerals removed. And if there was an area of the water that hadn't got a chance to pick up, and water picks up minerals really quickly, but it'll actually kill fishes because they can't be in extremely clean water. They need the dirt.
So what do we do with that water?
Well, I mean, we can put it out back into the streams. We could use the water for other reasons, but again, we do have a financial cost in reusing the water. When we put the water into the streams, as somebody else mentioned earlier, extremely clean water is nasty to pipes. So I actually do teach using water for data systems, or I did, but I'm out of it now. I actually showed them how to set it up, how to prevent the water from damaging the insides of a computer. And it was, so we actually call this water deionized. It has all of the mineral ions removed from the water. And so it's clean water. They will reuse it as many times as they can. The biggest problem is at over somewhere between 94 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, it starts to get nasty on our recycling equipment to keep the water clean and ready to go through again. So we have a real limit on that. When we bought, and years ago when I was doing electronics for factories for high tech, we would have to buy nuclear grade resin, actually for nuclear power plants, and to be able to recycle our water in there. But we don't want the minerals getting inside the components, because every tiny little bit of heat inside the processors is really devastating. So we want that heat to get out. And again, it comes back to the heat. If we're giving money to people offshore, why aren't we we're going to have these data centers whether we want them or not. It's kind of like a virus. When it gets there, we're going to get it, right? So we should be looking at laws and saying, okay, if we know this is bad, we know this is bad, we know this is bad, can we use some of this money that we're wasting on the Leering centers and stuff? Can we use that to say, okay, if you're going to put this center in, we want these issues addressed. And while we're at it, let's go back for the corn problem. Let's go back. We haven't even talked soybeans yet. we haven't talked about any of the issues. Nobody has mentioned monoclonic. Now I'm using the term wrong. Odd ploidality. And we won't today. But that's a problem with why we have to breed our corns 3 years instead of 1. But so that means we use 3 times as much energy, more stuff going up to the air.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at these different issues, we're going to go back to, wait a minute, most of the people do not even know about the different grades of water. When we go to a grocery store, the water that is the highest cost, the spring water, is actually one of the lower grades of water.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that says drinking water, one of the cheaper grades, the cheapest grade is the one you put, like when your water gets cut off, like they're doing sewer work and you've got to have something to flush your toilet, you can actually go down and buy like tap water grade water. But the grade above that is called drinking water, and it's heavily regulated. It's got to have 250 ppm of calcium in it. So it's got the perfect amount of calcium in it for your body. And it's usually like the one that's on sale is a loss leader. And you'll go next to it, you'll see a bottle of water that's imported from some other country that isn't the water quality level and not regulated. In fact, if it says, it says natural, I don't have to do anything to it, and I can't do anything to it. So I could be collecting my water downstream from a field of ill elk, and that ill elk urine could be going into my water supply, and it's still okay for me to put that out to the public.
Ooh.
I think I just converted
there's a lot of people in functional medicine, and I know Gabrielle might practice up. My friend Miriam Hanen, right? So, which, by the way, we need to get a sound clip, Josh Sleepy, of Miriam Hanen going, "You need a coffee enema," but that's a
what the fuck?
We need that sound clip. We definitely do. But she'll talk about the water. She kind of pushes this thing called live water, and some of the best water that you can get out here. And a lot of people will talk about the water. You need to get your water situated if you want to be healthy, because the water that we consume on a regular basis is so fucking bad, Snork. You know?
Yeah. I only do filter. I only do filter water.
I do filter water too, but even still, that only does so much, right?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, you're right.
My water filter is, I believe my water filter is worth somewhere in the order of $20,000.
Your water filter?
Have a good one.
The reverse osmosis water, right?
It's RO, and I've got it pre-streamed. And like I said, I had to go to water school to design factories for using water for electronics. So, again, we get into our different grades of water that we have that are out there, and we have no idea of what's in the water. So if I bring up one thing for the medical people that's out there, so a lot of women above the age of like 45 take medicine to avoid osteoporosis. And what happens is they'll get sold water, a really expensive water that has calcium in it. And if they have calcium in their first 2 hours of the day after they've taken their osteo medicine, it doesn't work right. The calcium interferes with the calcium or the osteoporosis medicine. So they actually need really pure water in the morning. You're not supposed to have milk with their drugs and stuff like that. But a lot of people trying to sell you a water filter will try to put on a device that's, well, this is the best quality water you can get. It puts calcium right back in your water after it cleans it. And I'm going to say, no. Women above 45, if they're on osteo medicine, should not have that. Now at noon, it's okay to turn on the water and get the calcium in, but they need a little time for that medicine to be able to say, this is the side that wants to absorb calcium. This is the side that wants to block it. There's all these little factors in there that the public never gets to hear about because it would impair anything. Now, what was the next grade? So we can have water too clean for people, and that's an issue. But here, our water quality, one of the first things I got rid of when I started cleaning up the house was I got rid of my water heater tank. Now we're in an area that has some radioactive materials in the water, and so I removed that, right? But that collects in your water tanks. And nobody ever talks about it. All of this debris. A lot of times when you take out a water tank, it's just full of all kinds of crust of all kinds of nasty stuff that's in it. And I have a tankless water heater, and people will tell me that I use extra electricity because of the water heater. Yeah, I do. But like I've already lost more than one family member to cancer, so you start to get really cautious about these things. And understand. I shouldn't take all the time. You probably got 5 other callers, right?
No, I don't know what we got, but Snorky, we do have to end it because we're getting close to the top of the hour. But we want to make sure that you call in because there's so many things. Snorky is actually a professor too. I call the professor Kevin, but Snorky's also a professor, and it's been awesome hearing his voice because seeing his name for so many years in our chats, and now we can put a name to a voice. If that makes any sense. Snorky, I want you to continue
retired.
going in the show, man.
All right, I'll try. It's really hard for me to get up this early.
Get your ass up early, pal. We're changing the way we do things. Early bird gets the worm. So you come out of the show and you hit the day running on 2 feet, baby.
I'm building a computer. I'll talk to you later.
We're
Thanks for
building a
calling.
movement, and you're a part of it. We're building a whole society over here, a group. That's what we're building, and you're part of it, Snorky. We need you.
All right.
That's what
Thanks.
I like.
I'll talk to you later.
Later, Snork. Is there any other calls in the queue there, Joshy?
I won't know for about 15 seconds.
For 15 seconds. Well, if so, just patch it through. But we're coming close to the top of the hour, too, as well. We'll be getting out of here very shortly. Guys, tonight the Stanley Cup playoffs start. You got Carolina versus Las Vegas. I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes in 6. Tomorrow, the NBA Finals start. I'm taking the Knicks in 5. I'm saying that one game.
Damn, I was going to go 6.
One game. Look, Nico, you could talk about this. Most of your championship teams out there, they include a lottery pick, right? Like they have a player that's usually taken in the top 10. I think Steph Curry is probably one of the greatest examples of somebody not taken. Where was Curry taken? 8, I think, in the draft.
Yeah, right outside the lottery.
I'll figure that out. But Wembanyama, who just took the San Antonio Spurs back to the finals, number 1 pick. Michael Jordan, 3rd pick. Patrick Ewing, 1st pick. Barkley, top 5 pick. All these guys that you see, that are usually taking their teams to the finals or winning championships, they usually involve a lottery pick. The New York Knicks, they're a high-character team. That's why I love this team so much. They're often called the Villanova Knicks. They got this kid, Jalen Brunson, 2nd-round pick, and he's leading the team, and they got
we do have a lottery pick, too.
What's that?
We do have a lottery pick, too, Cat.
Cat is a lottery pick. That is true. But I'm talking about the leader of the team.
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson. He did in game 1 against in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavaliers because they were just rusty. They were off for 9 days before they played. But he literally, I'd never seen anything like that since Michael Jordan. He put the team on his shoulders and took that game back. And after that game, they won that game. I knew right then and there they were going to sweep the Cavaliers.
I don't
heart right out of him, Nico.
Pasta, can I say I don't appreciate this talk that Wembanyama is definitively the best player in the world right now, or that SGA is definitively better than Jalen Brunson. I don't appreciate it because Jalen Brunson is him. This man comes to our team and it is an immediate turnaround. I've never, the only time that we've seen something similar to this was the James Harden trade, or really not the trade, but the signing when he left the Thunder as a 6th man, went to Houston and became, top 3, top 4 player in the league. But he never did what Brunson did. He gets to the playoffs and he kind of disappears. Brunson gets to the playoffs and turns up.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, since he was on the Mavs.
33rd pick in the draft. 33rd pick in the draft. Jalen Brunson, top of the 2nd round. 33rd pick in the draft. That ain't normal, is it not? And this is they talk about this guy. Too small, too slow. They said all these things. He won 2 titles in Villanova. He won 1 with Josh Hart, too, as well. Josh Hart is known as one of the great character people out there. Michael Beasley, who's had some mental problems, was on a podcast, was talking about a couple weeks ago, saying how he, all these players and whatnot. But Josh Hart would come to him and say, hey, man, if you need me, I'm here for you. Josh Hart recognized the man suffering and told that person, I'm here for you. He also, his type of work, he does all the dirty work. He's one of the best rebounding guards or big guards or small forwards in the league.
Power forward. It's crazy.
He's amazing. He's a kid. This is just a character team, and I am so rooting for them. Even Landry Shamit's story. If you listen to Landry Shamit's story, the way he lost his father at such a young age, I mean, I'm rooting for this team so much. I know to our crowd, Nico, they'll be mad and say, basketball is nothing but bread and circuses, right? And it is kind of a shame here in America where you'll talk to somebody and they can name their whole offensive line for their football team, where they went to college, but they don't know who their congressperson is or their council person is. That is an issue. So we do have to kind of fix that. But
That's
I am enjoying this run.
That in my opinion, that's a situation of that's a problem with the system that we're taught in, right? Because if there was we didn't learn what our congressmen, we learned about, in political science, or rather what they call it, civics and economics back in the day in high school. We learned about the system more or less, but like they didn't go out of a way to say, hey, what is your congressperson's name? What is your senator's name? What is your state senator's name? Like that would have actually been more effective and more efficient. But it's a system that fails us. I know that sports can be bread and circus at times, but say if we did have a successful system, like China has a successful system right now, would you call the basketball that they're playing in China, which is actually some of the best basketball in the world, bread and circus? Because their students are just as intelligent. Well, no, you can make an argument that they're way more intelligent overall because of the system. They know who's in charge of their system as well, and they also know who the best basketball players are. So it's not like it's strictly a bread and circus thing. But in the United States, it has somewhat become that. But it's because of the failures of the system. We can't blame the fans for wanting an escape and enjoying something, a physical activity, especially if you play, because I still play. So like, I think that it's important to make that distinction. Some people just kind of that's stupid. I'm not gonna watch that. Why? It's a waste of my time. But you watch movies, you watch, some people watch TV. Some people consider things that you do a waste of time, even though it's not. There are things that I would consider to be restorative activities. Sometimes when you think you're just taking a break, and you think about what you're not doing, whatever. Like if I'm playing a game that day, like sometimes I get irritated with politics, I go on FIFA and just fuck people up for 4 hours online. And like for real, that's what I do. And it's a restorative activity. It gives my energy back, makes me feel good, and I can get back to work.
Well, in a world where we can often be segregated and separated and be, taught to be divisive by the differences we have, differences in color, race, religion, and stuff like that. The one thing I love about sports, and the only other place I witnessed this was in the submarine, right? Like where, especially during the submarine, when we went in the submarine and we were in submarine school and we were in the water simulator where, all of a sudden the shit starts leaking and you got to put it down together. And then you're imagining to yourself, hey, I'm going to be on a real submarine and this shit could happen. You don't care if the guy next to you is black, white, Puerto Rican, or Chinese. You don't give a fuck. You just want that water sealed up so it ain't coming in there and killing people. Same thing on the offensive line. It might not be life or death, but to get the job done, you don't care if the guy next to you is black, white, Puerto Rican, or Chinese too as well. You're going to work with him. And I think sometimes
if he's Israeli, we might all just have to drown. If he's Israeli, we might all have to drown. I don't know if I can do that. I might have to let him go. I might have to take one for the team. One less rule in the world, guys. Going down with the sub.
There could be some good Israelis out there, right? Norm Finkelstein used to talk about how the demographics and the mindset of the country changed because the propaganda set in and they were taught that the Palestinian was their enemy and he's just going to kill everybody and he hates Jews simply because you're a Jew. But there could be some good Israelis out there that are saying, hey, man, we're not for this. We don't care about this. This is wrong. They are. We love it. I mean, it was a society where people used to get along together all the time before the elites came in and divided people against each other. So, I mean, I believe that we can find some good people who are Israeli, who are not Zionist, who are simply Jewish and want love and peace for everybody. So I'm hoping we can find that. Nico, we got to get out of here. Let people know where they can find you and how many games you're taking the Knicks in, because I know you're taking the Knicks. I'm taking
the Knicks in 6.
I'm taking them in 5.
Yeah, I'm taking them in 6 because I think that the Spurs will get. I think they'll get a couple at home. Is it
2-3-2 or is it 2-2-1-1-1? I think it's 2-3-2 for the finals, right?
Yeah, I think it's 2-3-2. Yeah,
I think that's what I'm saying. Game 5 in New York, they'll win. San Antonio will win Game 2, and the Knicks will win the next 3.
So here's my problem with that argument. The problem is the other team's superstar always goes off in games like that when they're in Madison Square Garden. That's why I can't take them in 5.
Different Knicks team. We got the best two-way players in the game. We got OG Anunoby and the guy who's so underrated, whose offense has come back around. But people I swear to God, they disregarded his defense because he would always be on the quickest guard out there. Mikal Bridges. His defense was always consistent. So that's why he was great. And like you said, the Knicks, they took a little bit on the shoulders trying to figure out their rhythm and whatnot. So they didn't finish number 1 in the league because they were figuring shit out. But when they figured it out, they figured it out in the playoffs. And it clicked quick. It clicked quickly. You put Cat at the top. Let him be a facilitator. He's been having 6-7 assists a game. I think it's great. Look for the Knicks in 5 or 6. That's what Nico and Pasta say. Nico will be back next Tuesday, and we will already be 3 games. I think 3 games. We got a game on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
I will say, depending on how those games go, we determine whether or not y'all see me on Tuesday.
You might be very upset, whatnot. Let everybody know where they can find you, Mr. House.
Yeah, man. Y'all know on X at Real Nico House with a K. On YouTube, you can just look up Nico House. On Instagram at Real Nico House. On Upscrolled as well at Real Nico House, and also make sure to follow Hotspot on X at Hotspot. You know, we drop new content every single day. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about today, but I'll figure it out.
Links in the chat.
I see somebody put them in there.
We got to talk to. I got like Nick Cruz. I love Nick. I was one of the first people to put him on. I put him on an election show before Fred Hampton left us. And by the way, when people all say Charlie Kirk's death, I'd rather find out what the fuck happened to Fred Hampton before I go research what happened to Charlie Kirk. No offense to anybody. Look, I don't hate on the guy when he got killed and stuff like that. But let's put some shit in perspective. There's some other motherfuckers we got to figure out what's going on. And nobody's even talking about Mumia, who's still sitting in a fucking goddamn prison. We need to get our priorities straight. I get it. Nico House in the house. We'll see you next Tuesday, Nico. I love you. I'm going to do the closing monologue unless you got something else to say.
Appreciate you, man. Peace out, guys.
Love you guys. Cue the music, maestro. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you, reach out to someone with a different viewpoint, share a meal, have a conversation, or just simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond, because sometimes conflict can often bring resolution. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep that dialogue flowing and that peace growing. I am Craig Pasta Jardula for Nico House. Sleepy J on the 1s and 2s. I want to thank Snorky, Chris, Kevin, Dez, and all the other people who called in today. I love our producers and co-producers in the chat. Gabrielle Freedom, Fred Edward. That's it. Until tomorrow, I love you all. Peace.